First up, I want to hit the protozoans. Protozoans are my favorite category. Quite neat little critters. These are unicellular. They are one cell, and they primarily live by ingesting food. So they're not autotrophs. They're heterotrophic. They thrive in all types of aquatic environments. So here I actually have, let's see, do I actually go in detail? I don't go in detail, but this is kind of the flow of the lecture. So here I actually have a flagellate, Giardia. Here I have another kind of flagellate, Trichomonas. Here I have an amoeba, a forum, Epicomplexan, and a ciliate. These 6 examples are all types of protozoans. Most protozoans, I shouldn't say this, most of the diseases caused by protists will be found in the protozoan category. These guys can be harmful for us, for instance, and for other living organisms as well. First type of protozoan that I want to discuss are your flagellates. Flagellates are protozoans that move by means of, you might have guessed it, flagella. Recall that flagella is a structure that extends from the cell. We saw this in prokaryotes. Eukaryotes can have them too. Eukaryotes can definitely have them. We see them in sperm. Sperm has flagella. Well, so do protozoans. Flagellates in particular have these tail-like structures that are going to help them propel through their environment. Most species of flagellates are free-living, so they're non-parasitic. They just kind of go about their way doing their flagellate thing. However, in this group, we can also have some nasty little parasites that make people sick. Giardia is an example of a flagellate protozoan that's going to cause harm, and here I can actually see a beautiful image of Giardia. This is just a unicellular, one-cell eukaryote. It's going to cause harm in the human intestine, causes disease there. That's where it likes to find its spot, makes its way. Here I can actually see, this is what is this? What image did I put here? Here I put an image of a fecal smear. I actually took the feces of an individual, I believe this was a dog, and I smeared it along the slide and I stained it. And I can actually see many different species here. I see a lot of coccidial bacteria, so those spherical bacteria that I talked to you guys about. Lots of bacteria found in feces of animals. I can see some other structures here, but what I do see, what's standing out here are these ghost-like organisms. It's kind of weird, right? And little flagella tails. It looks like they have 2 eyes. Those aren't eyes necessarily, but this is Giardia. And Giardia is a protist. Specifically, it falls under the protozoan category, and it is a flagellate. It has a flagella. Some other types of protozoans, amoeba is another guy. Amoebas are characterized by great flexibility in their body shape. They can actually morph into different shapes, and this has to do with the fluid-like nature of their bodies, and they actually do not have permanent organelles for locomotion. So locomotion is a nice fancy word to say how they relocate themselves, how they move, for instance. Well, they don't have flagella like those previous guys, and so they actually have something called Pseudopodia. Let me get my pointer here. And Pseudopodia is basically a false foot. It extends this false foot in order to move to whatever location it wants to get to, and it kind of reforms a different shape as it does that. This is particular to amoebas. Forums is the next type of protozoan I want to discuss. These guys also have Pseudopodia. They are as well characterized by their hardened mineralized shells. They are formed of calcium carbonate. These protists are mainly going to be found in marine ecosystems, and like other protists, they're actually great eating for fish and other marine animals. It helps along that food chain, forming an important part of that food web in marine ecosystems. I actually want to show you this. So here we have different trophic levels in a marine ecosystem. Marine ecosystems are so interesting because there's so much energy that's available in all these different organisms that exists there, you're actually able to get to very high quaternary level trophic levels, as seen in these top predators here. And that's because we have these protists that exist in these ecosystems in quite abundance forms. And so all these different organisms combined form something called plankton. Plankton are a diverse collection of organisms that live in large bodies of water. They're unable to swim against a current. They're quite small. In fact, they are microscopic. They provide a crucial source of food to many larger organisms in this ecosystem. So I'm really focusing on microplankton here because I can actually have plankton that is not existing on the microscopic level, such as these crustaceans and zooplankton. Microplankton, such as forams and other protists, as dinoflagellates that I'm going to go over later, also contribute to these food resources for these higher trophic levels. Next category, my favorite, protozoans, Epicomplexans. These nasty little critters are all parasitic. They all cause harm, and some cause serious harm to humans. Most of the diseases are going to be found with these Epicomplexans. They are as well a type of protozoan. Recall that we are still on protozoans. Protozoans are protists and a category following under. Not to be limited to, but the two that I want to discuss are Plasmodium, that's the parasite that causes malaria, and so that's a type of Epicomplexan. Toxoplasma is another type of Epicomplexan. It causes the disease toxoplasmosis. And it actually has a really interesting life cycle where it uses a cat, a feline, as a host before it infects humans. Epicomplexans are named so for the reason of having an apical complex in their structure. Ciliates are my next and last type of protozoan that I'm going to discuss with you guys. Ciliates are named so for the reason that they have little hair-like structures on their cell surface. So here I have cilia, different from flagella because the cilia is actually quite small. It's not long and extended like tail, and it's found all along the surface of the cell. And in ciliates, I can actually see here with this guy, the cilia is going to help with movement. It's also going to provide a way for this organism to sweep food into its mouth. Mostly ciliates are free-living. They're non-parasitic, such as the freshwater paramecium. I actually have a paramecium showing here in this animation. So a lot of times when you go out to kind of like standstill water, so let's say a lake in Texas is where I've done this, and you get a sample from that lake water, you're most likely going to find paramecium protist in there if you did so happen to get a protist in your sample. Ciliates can be both heterotrophs and mixotrophs.